Okay, good morning. I miss Jamie. I need to go see Jamie. It's been a while. He and I, his musical career in New Thought started about the same time as my ministry did. So, yeah. And I remember meeting him one time at the first time I met him was at a summer camp, youth camp. So, and he was there the whole week doing music and all that. So, anyway, aside, Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson. So I'm going to take a few minutes just to kind of set all this up. Emerson is probably I believe, one of the most influential writers that Ernest Holmes encountered. And Ernest talks about Emerson a lot, quite a bit. And it occurred to me to really stop and pause for just a minute and say, well, why do we stop and talk about Emerson? Well, we talk about Emerson, we talk about Emma Curtis Hopkins, we talk about Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, we talk about Emily Cady, and who else? Mary Baker Eddy, who taught Emma Curtis Hopkins, and Phineas Parkhurst Quimby, who taught Mary Baker Eddy, who taught Emma Curtis Hopkins, and to get perspective. And then to add even more perspective, we talk about writers such as Eckhart Tolle, Carlos Castaneda, throw some others out there. Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Ram Dass, and on and on and on and on. Michael Beckwith. Who's the Louise Hay. Louise Hay. And it's all about perspective. To put our thinking and our way of being and our way of living into context. So we're going to take this month and we'll talk about Ralph Waldo Emerson and his influence on science of mind, which will be evident as we march through this week, marching through spiritual law. One of my favorites of his essays. And actually, as I read through it this week, actually the last couple of days, to be specific, I pulled out quotes that I'd never pulled before. Things that struck me differently this time because I'm changed, because I'm different today than I was the last time I read this. And Reverend Jill and I were talking about this before service. It's like I keep one copy of The Science of Mind that I don't write. And of course, it's my favorite copy. It was a gift. It's leather bound and all that. And that's one reason I don't write in it. The other is I like to be able to have a copy that I can read without highlights, without notes. So that it's like reading it new. I'm not distracted by all the little margin notes and the highlights and things and the different colors and all that. So let's dive into it today. One of the things I want you to read just a little bit here off the back of my copy of Emerson's essays. It says, although Ralph Waldo Emerson, perhaps America's most famous philosopher, did not wish to be referred to as a transcendentalist, he is nevertheless considered the founder of this major movement of the 19th century. Emerson was influenced by a liberal religious training, theological study, personal contact with the Romanticists Coleridge, Carlyle, and Wordsworth, and a strong indigenous sense of individualism and self-reliance. Emerson's best work was done between 1836 and 1860, a period which includes his famous essays contained in this book's first and second series. So there is all that. The first quote I pulled today, for it is only the finite that is wrought and suffered, the infinite lies stretched in smiling repose. And this is off the bottom of like the first paragraph of the essay. And this is one quote that appears, I think, one of the few quotes that appears word for word in The Science of Mind. I think there's this one and there's one other one. And it's one of my favorites. We get all wrapped up in stuff, don't we? I know I do. I get wrapped up in the doing this. I get wrapped up in the little things. I get wrapped up in the cat not behaving properly. I get wrapped up in the fish tank not working quite right. I get wrapped up in traffic not cooperating or people changing lanes without turn signals. I know when I lived in Texas, the joke in North Texas was that an operating turn signal was a malfunction. We get wrapped up in the small stuff. That's our finite self, getting wrapped up in all the doing this and all the little things, and my shoes squeaking or the door not working right or whatever. The stuff. Get wrapped up in the stuff. And there's a larger part of us that sits back. I know I do. The greater part of me sits back and laughs at that part of me and going, you silly, really? You're going to get wrapped up and upset about all this little things. And I had quite a bit of it. The couple weeks in the first week, or the couple weeks leading up to moving into the house that we're in now, and this first week that we've been in this house, I have been very, very frustrated with the leasing company. Because trying to get things done, and I think I was sharing this with Reverend Joe earlier, everything is online with this company. It's an email, and even though I'll type into an email, please call me at this number. What do I get back? Do I get a phone call? No. I get an email. And then I pick up the phone and I call, and I end up in this queue that says, oh, it's going to be 20 minutes and blah, 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 blah. If you'd like to, the number you're calling from is da, 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 da. Press 2 and we'll call you back in order. I did that twice. Did I get a call back? No. Did I end up calling back and waiting for 30 minutes for somebody to pick up the phone? Yeah, I did. And I let them know. Da, 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 da. I was nice about it. By the time they got there, I had calmed down and let go of my attachment to the way things ought to be, the way I think things ought to be. And I was very complimentary and nice to the people because they actually picked up the phone and talked to me and solved my problems in 5 minutes that I'd spent all this time getting somebody on the phone. But I had to move through it. I had to let go of that finite sense of self and really embrace the larger part of me that can be in peace in the face of chaos. The larger part of me that can find the still point and say, you know what, these people are just showing up doing the best they can. Because I believe that to be true. People generally will show up doing the best they can on any given day, given what's going on. I hold on to that. I hold on to that. And that leads us to the second quote. I have a lot of quotes today. Hang in there. Place yourself in the middle of the stream of power and wisdom which flows into you as life. Place yourself in the full center of that flood. Then you are without effort impelled to truth, to right and perfect contentment. That's what I decided to do in the face of all that chaos. And I was better. I'm being real honest and transparent and authentic. Some days I could not do it. Some days I went to bed pissed. But also there were days, the better part of me, my better angels, took charge most of the time and allowed me to breathe through it And I had friends who came up to me and coached me and said, Lee, let it go. Lee, let it go. And I said, thank you. And thank you. You see, because it's okay. Because I know this. I experience this. I know the times when I'm centered and grounded and I can feel the presence. And you all do too. I know you do. We know when we are centered and grounded in the flow. We know when we are living from the presence, expressing ourselves as the power and presence of God, as life, as nature, as spirit, whatever name we want to attach to it. We know when we are there. And we know maybe, maybe I'm a couple degrees off center today, or maybe today I'm about 20 degrees off center. Or maybe today I'm just right in the flow and I'm right in the midst of it and all is well. And I can trust in myself. I can trust in my better nature and allow myself to listen and be still and be awake and look for the way life is going to show up for me today. What kind of good am I expecting today? Or what kind of unexpected good am I open to today? How about that? Expecting the unexpected. Can I live in that place? The next one, and I've totally forgot that this was an Emerson quote. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And as a man chooseth, so is he, and so is his nature. We're not, okay. This is people, right? It's not, anyway. We all know that. As we think in our hearts, so are we. And as we choose, so are we, and so is our nature. Our method is progressive, a progressive arrangement, a selecting principle gathering to us who we are. Powerful, yes? We attract who we are on the inside. We attract what we are on the inside. This goes straight to what Ernest Holmes talked about, right? Change your thinking, change your life. Right here. Change your thinking, change your life. We will attract into our life, into our experience, exactly what we believe. Because thinking leads to belief, and belief leads to knowing. What does it say in the New Testament? We shall know the truth, and the truth shall set us free. Thinking leads to belief, belief leads to knowing. I think we talked about this a few weeks back. Knowing is the difference between belief and knowing. Believing the sun is going to come up tomorrow is one thing. Knowing the sun is going to come up tomorrow is a whole different matter. It is without question, without doubt, without uncertainty. Knowing that the sun is going to come up on one side as the moon is coming up on another. Or some days they are kind of close to each other, depending on the rotation. But we know they're there. We know they're functioning. We know it's happening. Just like the tides in the ocean. All of that comes together. All of that functions. And we know it. We know the truth. And can I have that same level of knowing, that same level of thinking and believing about myself, about my growth, about my true nature? It goes also to this notion that we are indeed the sum total of our thoughts, ideas, and beliefs, and our experiences in this very moment. All of the thinking that we've done, all of the changes of mind that we've had, all the adjustments and so on and so forth that have led us to this moment, it all comes together now. And in that same breath, we have that opportunity, or this opportunity, to change our thinking. Can I change my thinking and change my belief? Can I make an adjustment so I'm more open, more accepting, more celebratory, more grateful for the good that is now and continues to flow into my life? Can I allow gratitude to grow that experience, to expand the sense of grace I have about my experience of living? Can I change my thinking and adjust it just a little bit to shift 1 degree today? Because 1 degree today, if we think of it as like a targeting, so to speak, targeting my life, 1 degree where I am here, downstream is 50 degrees. If I adjust my ability to accept my good just 1% today, and then 1% tomorrow, and then 1% tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after, what does that look like in a year? Can I move the needle just a little bit each day to expand my experience of good? Emerson goes on and runs. I'm looking at the clock going, okay, keep it moving, Lee. All right, next. Be and not seem. Here we go. Thank you, Reverend Joe. Be and not seem. I took a big chunk out. Let us take our bloated nothingness out of the path of the divine circuits. Let us unlearn the wisdom of the world. We were just talking a little bit about the first part. Let's talk about the second part. Let us unlearn the wisdom of the world. What kind of messages and stories do we get from the world about how limited we are? And am I buying into them? How much and how often do I get sucked into, oh, it's flu season? I mean, that's a classic one, right? Am I buying into it's flu season? No. Or this, that, or the other. I mean, we could sit here and I could put it out. We'd all come up with something. Some limited message we get from media, some limited message we get from education system, some limited message about how we're not enough or how we're not deserving, and da 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 da. No. Let all that go. That's the bloated nothingness that he's talking about. The bloated nothingness is the messaging we've gotten about how we're not enough, about how we're limited. One of the other writers that Ernest talked about a lot, or referred to as Thomas Troward. Thomas Troward, you've heard me, I tell the story, this part of the Troward writing a lot, is Troward says that as children we are born into this world and our consciousness is written upon by all the grown-ups around us. We come in like a blank slate and everybody around us starts writing upon that slate their own story about who we are. And at some point we get to look at that slate and we say, you know what? Okay, I like that story. This one not so much. I like this one, and this one not so much. Right? We begin choosing. We begin pulling aside that bloated nothingness, that limited story about who and what we are, and embracing something more expansive. We begin sweeping aside in the light of truth anything that is unlike itself, anything that is unlike our true nature is subject to removal. We get to let that go and choose something greater. Choose the larger life that says, you know what? I am love, I am light, I am peace, I'm abundant, I'm healthy, I'm whole, I'm deserving, I'm enough. And all the stories we get to say, you know what? This is my story now. This is my story today. I get to make this choice. And Emerson goes on to say, we get to be a light and a benediction. We get to be a gift and a benediction and shine with real light. This is our opportunity. When we embrace all these spiritual laws, when we embrace the idea that we are the outpicturing of what we believe, that we experience day to day, moment to moment, the results of what we believe to be true about ourselves and about the world, we have the opportunity to be a gift in every moment. To be the gift and the benediction, to shine the light, to be a beacon, a lighthouse for those looking for something greater. This is an opportunity. And then he says, but real action, so how do we get there? How do we get there? This is how. He says, real action is in silent moments. A silent thought by the wayside as we walk. In a thought which revises our entire manner of life. How many of us have had those moments where all of a sudden something becomes crystal clear and it changes everything? Changes everything. And it comes just as these quiet little moments, these quiet little sneaky little thoughts, that all of a sudden they creep in and we go, oh my. How did I not know? How did I miss that? I had never seen. I'd never, don't recall reading this line ever before. I've been reading this book for a long time. That one caught me off guard. As did the next one. Joe? And this will be the final quote for this morning. He says, I desire not to disgrace the soul. The fact that I am here shows me that the soul had need of an organ here. Shall I not assume the post? We're here by divine appointment, I believe. I'm here because at some point, I, in cooperation with divine intelligence, decided it was time for me to be here. And it was time for all of us to be here together in this moment. For whatever purpose. You get to assign the value to that. I don't get to assign it for you. There's a reason and a purpose for all of us being here together. And this is part of that. And for me, this points to an idea that says, you know what? To honor that choice is to bring the best of myself available and present in each moment to the best of my ability. to show up as love, to show up as the givingness of spirit, to show up as health and wholeness, to show up as the best version of me that I can bring present today. Some days better than others. Some days I'm the cranky guy on the phone with so-and-so leasing company. And some days I'm the guy on the phone with the leasing company actually getting to talk to somebody and say, you know what, thank you for answering the phone. Thank you for being so helpful. Thank you for answering my questions outside of the scope of your job and helping me get solved what I need to get solved. And some days it's sitting on the phone or sitting still with somebody face to face and just listening. Some days that's the thing. So how do I get to show up? How do I get to honor that choice? How do I get to honor the choice that I made to be here now in this life with all of you? With all of you. So, with that, thank you. Thank you for celebrating 30 with me. So, with that, just if we're, questions. A few questions this morning. I know I covered a lot of ground. 7 quotes is a lot for me. Yes, ma'am.
Was that all from self-reliance?
That was all from spiritual laws. Is it law or laws? Laws. Okay, I keep saying spiritual laws. Spiritual laws, yes. Those were all from spiritual laws. Thank you. And I have page numbers, but it's from this version, so I don't know if that's the version you have. But anyway, anybody else? Wow, I covered it that thoroughly.
I had something, but
Yes,
it was
ma'am.
fleeting.
Okay. It was
Paper trail.
Gone. All right. I get it. You don't have to have questions. That's fine. Yes, ma'am.
Reverend Lee, I believe you gave us a lot to chew on. And perhaps next week when we see you, we'll have questions.
I won't be here next week.
Oh, well, we'll see you.
I will be flying. So, yeah, this next week I'll be coming back from Seattle for my oldest boy's wedding. Who was here, I don't know, a couple months ago? He and his fiance. Yeah, so they're getting married. So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I know, fun. Yeah, fun stuff. We'll be flying back in.
Well, we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yes. So we can have questions on both in 2 weeks. All right. With that, we'll go back to practicing principles. I kept it simple this week, I think. So for journal, contemplation, meditation, this is your prompt for this week. What ideas am I holding on to that are in the way, holding me back, or limiting me? That is all about getting our bloated nothingness out of the path of divine circuits. So, what ideas am I holding on to that are in the way, holding me back, or limiting me? So, great. All right, let's pray. Let's take it all into prayer. So we place ourselves consciously now in the flow of life, recognizing that God is all there is. God has infinite love, divine intelligence, divine light, truth, all of this, and so much more. It is the very source and substance of all that is, of our being, of our doing, of our expressing. So it is in this that we live and move and have our being, and it in, as, and through each and every one of us. So I speak this word for each and every one of us here, for all of you out there in internet land, watching now or later. affirming that life is good and very good as each and every one of us, and that life is love and truth. That life is right relationships. That life is health and wholeness and prosperity, every cell and fiber of our being alight and alive, for it is truly the expression of divine light, of divine love. Our minds, our bodies, an outpicturing of perfect order, of vibrant health and wholeness. And anything unlike that simply swept aside right now in the light of truth. Everything is brought into right relationship. Right relationship with ourselves, right relationship with this world. For the world in truth is an outpicturing of this divine light as well. So we are in right relationship with all of it, right here and right now. And as I speak this truth for each and every one of us, for anyone worshiping here or elsewhere, wherever you are, in church, in synagogue, in quiet space, I know that each and every one is blessed. And that we let go any thought of lack or limitation. For wholeness, health, abundance, and truth are our reality right here and right now. And so with gratitude for this and so much more, we let go and we let it be and we say together, and so it is.